Have you ever sat down to write an intro for your podcast and suffered extreme writer's block? Yes. Have you ever had like this thought, like, okay, we're going to talk about summertime, so something about hot girl summer in the intro, and then literally gone nowhere with it? Nowhere. Well, if any of these things have ever happened to you, they're very specific, so probably not. It might be us. You might be Dani and Katie and the hosts of Generation in Between, a Xennial Podcast. And today we are bringing you something not scripted and not really researched. I guess we did end up at it. Oh, I did research. There is some research in here. The original idea was not researched, though. And this is Xennial Suburban Summertime Memories. Welcome. So, Dani, tell the listeners like how we came upon this as a topic.
I don't remember. But I think we were just talking about like random things from our childhood summers.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, we need to do an episode on that. And so today we like kind of just had this shared document where we just wrote down random memories. Some stuff is like actual objects or places, and some is just random items. Yeah, it'll be fun. We're going to have some pictures on our socials too. I found some really funny ones.
Yay.
Like legit 1980s in the street with bikes and so my neighbors from when I was a kid. So we're just going to kind of revisit what it was like to be a kid back in the 80s and how that looks a little different than now and how some of it kind of is still a thing.
Yeah. I was just thinking about one I don't think we have on here, like, because it was just the 4th of July, bomb pops.
Oh, yeah.
I love those as a kid. And my kids will still be like, you got the bomb pops, right?
Yeah.
For the 4th of July? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
And you know what? They cost so much from like the ice cream man now.
They do.
$8 or something dumb for a bomb pop.
Yeah. We have this ice cream truck that goes around our neighborhood. And I was just feeling nice one day and I had some cash from like a voice lesson. So literally the cash is in my pocket and I'm in the driveway and I hear it coming. And so I'm like, come on, let's go. I think I had $30 in my pocket. It was $38.
Crazy.
And it wasn't even all my kids. It was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they're like, we take Apple Pay. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll just keep this $30 in my pocket. It was so expensive.
I know.
And so I told my kids, I was like, never again.
Never again.
Never. But anyway, cool. So do we have any circle backs or shout outs?
We're just going to circle back to how hot it is because it is miserable out there right now.
It is miserable. Yeah, it's like, even if you go out, my husband and I have been walking before the sun comes up and it doesn't matter.
No, 100%. I have some early morning clients, right? So I leave my house at like 6. Doesn't matter. And you feel like you're walking into a sauna and it stays like that all day. But, you know, I will say I'm going to shout out all the people who listen that work at theme parks.
Oh, man.
Or have any kind of outdoor job in Florida at this time of year because bless you. Holy cannolis.
Yeah.
Drink your Gatorade and water, people. Stay hydrated.
Seriously. And like theme parks, but also like performers, if you're moving in that or if you're in a costume.
Right?
Oh, my gosh. I know they have like, what is it? Disney has like the technology in their costumes like to supposedly cool them, but still,
it's friggin' hot.
Yeah, it's so hot. So anyway, okay, well, so a shout out to summer. No great intro. We don't know how we came upon this topic.
And this is weird. I don't know. It's going to be a good episode, I promise. We're going to just
be great.
Just jump right in.
Yes, we should.
Okay, so the very first thing I thought of when I thought of 1980s childhood summertime memories was slip and slide, which is still going strong. I mean, my kids have had multiple slip and slide action in our house. This one, I did do research just on like how it was discovered. Would you like to know?
I would. Okay. I'm interested.
So the original slip and slide was invented by a man named Robert Carrier. It manufactured by Whammo.
Yes.
It was first sold in 1961. And the main form is basically just plastic sheet and some kind of method of wetting it. And so when the surface is wet, it becomes slippery and you can slide along it. Okay, that's the basic premise, as we know. So the creator was inspired to make this slip and slide. This made me laugh because his young son and their friends were hosing down and sliding on wet painted concrete.
Oh,
yeah. Because, when it's painted, it has like a slippery.
Yeah.
So obviously he wanted them to stop doing that. So no, he was an upholsterer. That was his job. And so through his job, he got this long strip of naga hide. He sewed a tube onto it to pass a hose onto the piece of material. And then he punctured the tube sporadically to kind of allow water to spurt out along the way. Yeah. Okay, so that was the original slip and slide. So he sold his invention to Whammo, where they obviously replaced the naga hide with plastic to reduce production costs. And voila, slip and slide has been a family favorite and caused multiple injuries since.
I was going to say, all I remember about myself using a slip and slide is it always hurt. Always.
It doesn't matter where you put it. And, you would try so hard. Like before you put it down, you like feel the ground, make sure there's no rocks or didn't matter.
Always hurt. Always. Whether you're in the grass. And then I grew up like on Lake Michigan, and I remember doing it even in like sand.
No, I've done it in sand.
But even soft, quote unquote, soft sand, when you land on it like that, it hurts. And then it would quickly get wet anyway.
I know.
And it'd be hard. So I just remember it hurting, and my kids too, they want to do it so bad. And then they're like,
always tears,
always
tears, always. And some kind of blood involved with slip and slides. Now, here's a question for you that I don't know I have no idea what you're going to say to this. So have you ever done like a DIY ginormous slip and slide?
No.
Okay. So
how do you do that?
Oh my gosh. So some of my fond college memories were at frat houses in the summer.
Yes.
Because they would get these giant tarps, huge, giant, and a lot of there was a few frat houses that were up on big hills, right? And they would put like these giant tarps down and use like Dawn dish soap. And they would even sometimes create like these big pits of water at the end. This sounds awful. It's at 19. This is really fun. Okay.
It sounds gross, but
it was so fun because, a little tiny slip and slide cannot fit a bajillion people at a frat house party at 2:00 on a Saturday afternoon.
Right. And it would break like instantly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it would rip.
So there was like some very well done engineering to make our slip and slide. We might be able to find a picture because I know my husband participated in these as well. He was probably one of the people who helped make them at his frat house. So I'm going to see if we can find a picture. And I know some of our listeners out there have done these DIY. I know they have. But word to the wise, you will hurt yourself even worse.
I was going to say, is the tarp like thicker? Is it better?
Yeah, it's like like a tarp. Like you think of like a tarp that you like cover up like something with. Yeah, that's what they would use. Or I do remember they would sometimes use, it almost looked like trash bag material, like where it was like in a big giant roll. So I don't know what that is. Like a vinyl or something.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
It's like used for construction too, I think.
Yeah. Or giant slip and slides.
Or construction, demolition.
Yes.
Giant slip and slides. I love it. Oh, that's very fun.
So yay, slip and slide.
Hey, I bet a lot of our listeners have some very, I don't know if fond is the right word.
I know.
Memory. And maybe real day memories. Well, my first one on here, and I'm interested to talk to you about this because I know you're from the South.
Yes.
And I'm from the Midwest. So I don't know if they even have these in Louisiana because they don't have them in Florida, but in Northwest Indiana, where I'm from in the Midwest, during the summer, every night during twilight and as it would get dark, there were fireflies.
Yes, we did have them.
You have them?
They do have them here.
They do? I've never seen them.
Wow. Well, maybe I'm getting my locations confused, but we did have them growing up because I can remember seeing them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And I wonder if there's like different species depending where you are too.
Probably. Also, haven't you seen Princess and the Frog? And there's a firefly.
You're right. And that's in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to our Disney knowledge.
My favorite part of that with the firefly, I can't remember his name now. Now our Princess and the Frog fans are going to be upset. Is when they're like, somebody's like, oh, he's from far away. And the firefly goes, oh, you're from Shreveport.
Oh my gosh, yes. How could I forget? The most famous Louisiana firefly of all time. So did you ever try to catch them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They're hard to catch.
They're really hard to catch.
Yeah.
But we would catch them and we would put them in these like jars.
Yeah.
Like mason jars. And then we would be like confused when they would die. Like puncturing little holes in like the aluminum lid or whatever.
Yeah.
Still by like the morning they would die. So I never actually knew what makes fireflies quote unquote light up. So I did a little bit of research.
Ooh, I never know this either.
Yeah. So here's what I found. Fireflies produce light in their special organs in their abdomen.
Oh, I thought it was in their butt.
I guess it's their abdomens. Okay. It does look like their butts though. By combining a chemical called luciferin. So like Lucifer in, I guess because of the light and the fire, maybe?
Yeah.
Enzymes called luciferase oxygen and the fuel for cellular work. So entomologists think they control their flashing by regulating how much oxygen goes into their body. So it's like a combo of these special organs and the enzymes in them and then like how they're breathing.
Huh.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
Science on generation between today.
Yeah, look at us. I can't say any of them, but those things. Yeah, those are the things. And of course, they're used for lighting their way, staying together kind of as groups, and then also protection, warning signs to each other. They send each other signals for different things.
Wouldn't it be crazy if our butts lit up? I guess that's not their butts, it's their abdomens.
But even like, that. Morning. I know, right? Morning. It's just my thing. And this is what I don't understand about science. If they're doing that, aren't like all the other animals or the things they're warning against also seeing that?
Right.
Like if my stomach just started lighting up and I was trying to warn you of something, wouldn't the other humans or beings around us be like, what's happening? She's more noticeable right now.
Run away.
Run away now. Oh, maybe I'd scare them. I don't know. But well, I've never seen them here in Florida. So that doesn't mean they're not here. And we have a lot of local friends. Maybe they can tell us. I'm also like beachside. So I know sometimes like we don't get as many like mosquitoes over there and stuff because of the breeze. Yeah. So maybe they're just not by my house. Yeah. But there are other places in Florida. But when we went up north a few summers ago, my kids were like going nuts trying to catch them all and just follow them around. And
they're magical.
They really are.
Like, I remember, so my dad's family, I mentioned them on the Reba episode. They all live in North Carolina and they have this big farm and a lot of the people live around the area. And I can remember we would go, they would have a family reunion every summer. We wouldn't go all the time because my dad's family is like huge. And we would go, and that was one of the coolest things was seeing all the fireflies because they have so much land. Right. And I remember like, and then one year, when Cooper was a baby, this has been a while, my family and my sister, we went up to the reunion because we hadn't been in a long time. And my kids got to do that. And that was really cool because they had never seen fireflies like that. Like we had them in Missouri, we had them in Virginia. But to see them on that big open land, it's magical, right? And it's like
really special.
Summertime, like beautiful thing.
And it's like when you think of like the image of that, even just a single firefly, you can feel like the twilight and like the air around you. And it's been a hot day, but maybe now it's finally cooling down unless you live in Florida. But you know, we're cool. And it never does. But yeah, I don't know. That was a fun one. All right. What else you got?
Well, this one kind of went on, goes along with slip and slide. I probably should have spent. Did you ever play in your front yard sprinkler?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, my gosh. The best. And this was before people had, like, the automatic sprinklers. Like, I don't even think they were a thing yet. I didn't know anybody. But suburban America, from, like, the 50s on, had front yard sprinklers to water your grass. Especially in hot places. Like, I lived in Louisiana. We had those sprinklers going all the time. But the best kind of front yard sprinkler was the kind that was, like, the long one. And it would rotate back and forth. Yep. Did you like jump through it?
Oh yeah. And you would like time it, you know, to be like jumping right at just the right time. Or you play the opposite game where you would try not to get wet.
Yeah.
And you like stand there as long as you could. And then like at the last second, like move out of the way of the water. Yeah. We had all sorts of games. And now you can get, I don't know, like toy versions.
I know. And it's not the same.
It's not.
They're cool. Like I've purchased some of those.
Me
like,
too.
for my kids.
Me
like,
too.
you know, the octopus one with the arms that go.
Yeah.
But that one's not as the same. I think that's what is so nostalgic for us, like thinking back as being a kid in the 80s, because it was kind of like the last time where you had to use your imagination for a lot of things.
It's like literally a plastic strip with water coming out of it. It does one thing. It goes back and forth.
Yeah.
But all these elaborate creations came from that.
Right.
And like as I just mentioned, you know, oh, now we'll do it this way. Oh, then we're going to do it this way, as opposed to like, oh, it's an octopus fun. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And there's probably games that kids build around that. I'm sure mine did. But like having to sort of be that innovative for like a thing that's a utility, not a toy.
Correct. It was to water your grass. Yeah. And we turned it into, and I remember my dad would get mad because we would like move it. Because, you know, you have to do like sprinklers like in a certain spot. So you get out of the yard, add plants and stuff. And we would move it around, or we'd leave it in one spot too long, and then it would make a puddle in the grass.
Yep.
That's like a whole mess. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Ours too. I loved front yard sprinklers or side yard, backyard, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
I mean, well, speaking of, okay, so we're going to talk about, I mean, I grew up in like a suburban area. You did too. Yeah.
I did too. Yeah.
So something that I don't think my kids will ever understand, except they did for a short period of time when we lived on an Air Force base. It was kind of the same because you were allowed a little more freedom than you can in regular neighborhood because it was very secluded, which there's pros and cons to that, by the way.
Of course. Yeah.
But anyway, so one of my fondest memories of summer, which I said I have a picture of, is me and my buddies, because I grew up in the same house from the time I was like almost 2 until I left for college. Me and my buddies would ride our bikes in the neighborhood all day long. Parents had no clue where we were. No idea. Literally no. But we knew when those streetlights came on, we had to be home. But I have a funny Louisiana add-on to that. So bugs are a big deal in the South, everybody, just so if you don't know. And it was before anything was trying to be environmentally friendly. So we would have these giant ass mosquito trucks. That's what we called them. That would come through the neighborhood at dusk, because that's when mosquitoes are the absolute worst. They would come through at dusk and spray pesticides. Like they would come down on the streets and you could hear them. So that's how we knew it was time to go. When the mosquito trucks would come through. But you know what we would do? We would literally ride our bikes and run behind the mosquito truck.
Oh my God.
Maybe that's why I'm so short.
The pesticides just spraying out. You're like, you're not kidding.
I can still remember how it's.
Oh my gosh. Guys, I literally did. Like, wow, it's a lot of like light bulbs are going off in my head now.
Like it was deep. I'm sure that's what it was. There was spraying in the air. I don't know, something. Yeah, but so when the streetlights came on and the mosquito truck came a truck in, you better get your butt home.
Yep. Yeah. I remember I loved riding my bike.
Oh my God, me too.
And yes, I did have friends in the neighborhood I would ride with. But I had a friend, I would probably have to go back to where I grew up and like map it to her house, but she was at least 1.5 miles away. And so like I would have to get to her.
Yeah.
But again, like no cell phones, whatever. So we'd just be like on the regular phone.
Yeah.
Or like we saw each other the day before. I'll ride to your house at 10 a.m. or let's meet up. There was a park maybe about 1 mile away. And I would just get on my bike by myself.
Yep.
No helmet.
No. Oh God, no. Nobody wore helmets.
No. Ride. No phone. Nothing. Probably 8, 9 years old. Yeah. Ride over to my friends and wait for her or not wait for her. And then there were times that like I just felt like going for a bike ride and I would just go by myself. And I remember riding her home one day and she was leaving. So I hung out with her and her family for a little bit and then they all left. So I was like, okay, I'm going to ride my bike home. But I decided I'd like ride a little further first or something. And I fell off my bike.
Oh no.
Bad.
Oh no.
Hit a rock, went over the front.
Oh crap.
Bleeding from my elbows, my knees. Like I hit like the side of my face.
Oh no.
Awful. But like, yeah, my friend was gone and I was probably 2 miles from home. And I think the chain was off my bike. So I'm trying to fix that. And so I just like walked out. Yeah, bleeding and no bike. And I'm like, okay.
We're here.
And my parents are like, what happened to you?
Yeah.
And I was like, I fell off my bike. They're like, oh. But it's like, oh, okay, I'll look at your chain later, and thankfully it was like daytime. But I think about that now. And I mean, I was obviously fine. And I had to, in that moment, really be independent and be like, okay, well, I got to get home and figure all this out.
Yeah.
But like the idea of like my 9-year-old that happening and
No.
like it makes me panic.
It's terrifying, isn't it?
It makes me panic.
I know.
But, that's what we did.
That's
And
totally what we did.
And I don't know about the streetlights, but I do remember probably around that age, my parents got me a watch, and I did have to like tell them when I was going to be home, and it was my responsibility to look at my watch, and if I was late, I was in trouble. And I don't know if it was like streetlights, but sometimes it was as simple as like you have to be back at 1 because we're going to whatever, and so that was on me.
Yeah.
And I was never late.
Nope.
I was always there when I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But now, I just text my kids, it looks like you're at McDonald's. Please come. Well, the funniest is my kids track my phone now. So one day,
so funny.
One day I was in the Starbucks. Like they're like, ooh, I get a text from Erin and it's like, what are you getting at Starbucks? And I'm like looking around like hello. She just wondered where I was and saw that I was literally sitting in the drive-thru at that moment. Oh my gosh, it was really funny. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, that was, I think about now how like I freak out, about my youngest going around just playing in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I like literally like nobody knew where I was. Like I'd be playing in ditches and like, junk, and like who knows what I was doing, and they didn't either. Like especially because both my parents worked full time. When I can't remember what grade I was in. My grandma, my mom's mom, retired and moved down to Louisiana. It was right around when my parents were separated. I remember that. So she would be at my house during the day sometimes because I was younger than my sister, whatever. And I'm like, what did she do all the time? Like, she had to be there for adult presence. but like, other than that, she must have just been watching her soaps. And she loved romance novels, and she'd always bring over her book. But like, it was gone. Like, I was just doing whatever I wanted. Like, she was just like, okay.
I remember, like, there were woods by our house.
Oh, yeah, same.
We would go in there.
Oh, yeah.
Usually I would go through, and I personally was scared to go in there by myself.
Oh, really?
Just because of, like, animals or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I just got an uneasy feeling. So I usually wouldn't. I would go with, like, friends or whatever. But even then, and I remember, this is totally random, but I would sell Girl Scout cookies alone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, my parents would be like, I don't know, go ask a few neighbors. And to be fair, we knew most of them. But I remember there was this like younger couple that had moved like across the street and a couple of houses down from us. And I went and knocked on the door with my little, because you didn't have the cook.
Oh, yeah.
The paper. You had to,
and then you had to wait forever.
And the man, so thinking about it now, he's probably in his mid-20s. But to me, he was like really old, grown. Yeah. Answers the door in his underwear.
Shut up.
I swear to God. He's like,
remember this?
Yes. Well, yes, I do. And I was totally like,
oh, obviously.
What the what? And he was just like, yes. And I was like, what?
And he answered the door in there.
Well, that's a really good question.
Like,
now that
ID?
Yes. Ew. Now that I think about it, probably not the best. And he was just like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Let me see. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to come back or whatever in my little voice. And I don't even think I told my parents. I was like so embarrassed.
That's so really weird.
And they didn't live there that long. Like it was like a rental or something. And I remember being like happy when they moved.
Weirdo.
So weird.
Okay, moving on.
But okay, that little side tease. Let's move on to garden hoses.
Okay, so listen, the thing you have to know about the 80s is once you were playing outside, something that 80s parents told you all the time was once you do not come in and out, like I am not air conditioning the entire neighborhood, okay? Especially when you're in the South, because I know you didn't grow up in the South, but you live here now. Open doors is just, you can hear the money raking up and up and up. So once you were outside, you better stay out there for a long time. And once you come back in, you better stay because that door did not. My grandma used to say we not live in a barn. So what you would do, you'd be playing. By the way, you hardly ever hydrated yourself when you were a kid.
Right.
Like, I don't ever remember, like, just we carry water around, kids these days.
And we tell our kids, bring your water, like, and then have to have spots for them to fill it up. I remember having my first baby and them giving me like one of those giant water things with the straw. And I did, because like I was breastfeeding. So I was literally thirsty. And then that was like when I established drinking water. as a habit, right? Because like then I wasn't as thirsty anymore, but I was like, oh, like that's a good idea. I'm smart. I'm 25, but I should consciously drink water, you know, like it was so wild. But yeah, kids nowadays so hydrated.
So anyways, the reason I say all that is because something I remember using when I was outside was you would get thirsty, obviously. It's biology. And you didn't want to run inside because, first of all, you probably don't want to stop what you're doing, number one. Like you're in the middle of a very important game or like you're running your course. You just want to hurry up and get. So we would drink out of the garden hose, right?
Sure.
All the time. Like just, and then you can like, your friend would be like, oh, I want some. And then just gulping out of the bar hose. And off you go. You don't get in trouble for coming in and out. You're not sure hydration.
Yeah.
5 hours because you probably won't drink anymore. So I actually have another funny side story because as we know, I just had very weird stories associated with my childhood. So in my house, we did have a pool in our backyard, which we couldn't use all the time because there had to be an adult there. My grandma couldn't swim. So we had to have an adult, obviously, that could swim in case we drowned. So we actually didn't get to use it as much as we really wanted to when we were kids. But anyways, on the days we could, in my house, you know, you would swim all day, swim. And then you get out and you'd be like, oh, yeah, I don't have to take a bath or a shower because I swam all day. Right? That's a lot of people's logic. But you would have to wash your hair if your hair, my sister is a platinum blonde naturally. So her hair would turn colors and all the things. So we would even use the hose to wash our hair in the backyard.
Okay.
Right? My mom would put the shampoo out for us. We would wash our hair in the backyard. So then we didn't have to take a bath or a shower and our hair was clean.
I mean, I'm thinking, how can I do this for Maddie, right? Because they all come in at night and they're like, I need a shower and I need a shower and I need a shower. And then the whole house is like covered in a zillion towels.
Right?
And yeah.
And also, I mean, I hated washing my hair when I was a kid. I had super tangly hair and like I hated it. And so, but outside was fun.
Yeah.
You know, and you're in your bathing suit and you're washing your hair. That's like,
I mean, this is crazy. Our neighbors, so this is what middle-age jealousy looks like. Our neighbors recently, I guess not that recently, it may have been when COVID first started. So a couple years ago, built an outdoor shower.
And especially beachside. That's great.
I've like, and then they like did this thing where they have like the lattice. And so now it's got like, I don't know, like vines and stuff growing over it. And I can just kind of like see it over the top of my fence. I mean, they're friends of ours too. I've been in their backyard recently, but I'm always just like, oh, we need to do that. So that's like my dream. Like now, in the past 5 years, we've put in a pool, added a bathroom, like done all these things. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. All of that. That was like our home improvement. Yeah. So I'm kind of like, it's okay. We're going to take a little break for all this. I need a headache be like crazy expensive. But I'm like, okay, when we go to the next round, outdoor shower coming our way. Cause yeah,
set up a little make your own shower out there. It needs a garden.
I mean, I'm feeling inspired.
I'm kind of something to block.
You know what I should do is have Tegan figure that out.
She would
innovate that
100%.
And it would probably work.
I know.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so should be recyclables involved. It would be a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see.
So I have a question for you then. Let's move on to our next little memory that we had written down. So everybody remembers, you know, whether you had a pool or not, going to the pool, going to a hotel that had a pool, going to a friend's house that had a pool, all the fun pool games.
Yes.
Speaking of imagination, which we talked about the sprinkler, I have to know, tell me some of the pool games that you played as an 80s kid.
Maybe not mainstream ones.
Ooh.
I remember playing just like, I don't know, like pretending we were on vacation and like in like different oceans and like different people were like a mermaid or like the mermaid would help you on your journey. I remember doing a bunch of stuff like that, but I was also definitely afraid of sharks in pools.
I know, me too. What was that about?
I don't know. And people blame it on Jaws, but I swear I had not seen Jaws. I had this fear.
But he wasn't in a pool.
He wasn't. So that wouldn't even make sense, except he was scary. I've always felt like they were going to come out a little great.
Yes. So my pool growing up, we had like a deep end and a shallow end. It was like a jelly bean shaped pool, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's pretty deep because we had a diving board.
Oh,
so I want to say it was like 10 feet because we didn't build this pool. It came with the house, but it was like 10 feet deep. So at the bottom, was like a whatever. And we only had one light in the whole pool. So if you went swimming at night, the light was underneath like where the diving board was. But then it would like cascade out like dark. That's what I was always scared of swimming at night. With that, I would not go in the deep end. Yeah. Because I was so scared some shark was going to come out of somewhere.
And that's the thing, like, we didn't have a pool. Like, where I'm from in Indiana, it was, like, not super common. Right. If you had a pool, it's kind of rare because you could only have it open, like
a month.
And there were people, like, my boyfriend in high school had one. We asked swim there. And a good friend of mine put one in recently, and she lives up there, and it's beautiful. But, like, it was not very common. But I remember being just, like, at the YMCA.
Yeah.
And swimming laps for my swimming lesson and being like, oh, my God, a shark is going to get me.
And it's got to be other kids who felt like that. It can't just be us.
And I used to think it was just me, but they said the same for you. And I was like, and then I saw this meme recently that was like, I forget exactly what it said, but it was like a person swimming and then like a shark. And it was like my most irrational childhood fear.
And I was like, oh my God. It's like a whole thing that nobody talked about. I guess so. From the 80s.
Every time I feel like lately, I've finally spoken of it. People are like, me too. And here's a meme and here's a whatever. And I was like, this is so crazy. But what about what pool games did you play?
Well, we did made up games. I talked about The Little Mermaid. We used to do the whole thing in our Disney. Was it the Disney Renaissance? I think
it was. Yeah.
But we of course always played Marco Polo. There's always that one person who would cheat and get out, which was me.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'd be like getting on out because I'm not a great swimmer. I've never been a great swimmer. So like that game sucks if you suck at swimming.
Yeah.
And so I would just get out and walk. And my sister would always catch me like, Dani, you're out of the pool. Oh, okay. Like, yeah. But we would do sharks and minnows. Right. And do you remember doing like a bunch of diving games? Like we would jump in and get stuff. Like,
yeah.
So we had this was like the funnest pool toy. I remember it even like now. We had these fake eggs. Okay. So it was like in a plastic egg carton.
Okay.
And there was all these different eggs. The top of the shell was white. The bottom was a different color. You could open it. And every egg was worth different amount of points. And they rated. So you'd throw them in the pool, all these different places, and you'd go and you'd get as many eggs as you could. And then whoever had the most points.
That's fun.
Yeah, wasn't that fun? I love that now. And you didn't have to be a super fast swimmer. You just had to have a good eye. Because you have to turn around, close your eyes, and then somebody would throw them in, and you'd all race to get them. We loved those. Like,
fun.
We loved those.
Yeah.
We played with those all the time. They're super fun. But oh my gosh, like I think about just staying in and again, I feel like kids nowadays have more stuff to do in pools than we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we both have pools. We live in Florida. Almost everybody that lives here has a pool.
I will say one thing my two youngest daughters do, speaking of like made up games and stuff, they will go out and I remember doing this with my friends. In fact, I said to my husband the other day, I was like, take a look at what I was like when I was 12. We're watching it right now as we're watching the two of them. And he had a good laugh because he's like, yeah, I could see it. We would like choreograph stuff.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
You too? Yeah. So either with music or without, or we'd sing our own music. But my daughters will do that. They'll like choreograph a whole thing.
Theater kid.
And then they'll be like, come on out and watch our show. Yeah. And like most of it's in the water. But then like all of a sudden they get out and they're doing like some crazy TikTok move. And then someone does a cartwheel into the pool and then someone follows them. And it's just, and watching it, I'm like, oh my God, I remember doing that. Just being like, okay, it's my turn to choreograph. Okay, we got to do my dance. Okay, now it's your turn. And that was always so fun. And it's kind of fun to see, like you said, they have so many things to do, but sometimes they're just like, let's just make up a dance, or whatever. And it's so cute. So several years ago, my daughter Tegan, it was her birthday. And something happened with my in-laws, like health or their dog was sick or something. Anyway, they didn't come up for Tegan's birthday. And they never gave her a gift, but they kind of like forgot. Because her birthday's not too far going on. Yeah. But she didn't forget, of course. But didn't say anything to them. So months later, we're FaceTiming them because they're somewhere. And she says to my mother-in-law, you never got me a birthday gift. Now her birthday's in November and this is like March.
Right.
And my mother-in-law's like, what? And I'm like in the background, like shaking my head. And my mother-in-law was like mortified. She's like, I'm so sorry, Tegan. So anyway, long story short, Tegan decided she wanted these My Little Pony mer ponies. Oh my God, for the pool. So they're like the normal, like plastic with the manes, but they have mermaid too. So lo and behold, a couple days later from Amazon, here comes this full set. And when I tell you the amount of hours that were spent playing with those things in the pool, I love. And the neighbor girls come over, and then like her older sisters are like all jealous because like they want them. Even like the ones that were like maybe outgrown of that age.
Because those are cool.
I want them. They were so cute. And all the different games you could play. Oh, my God. Like the imagination stuff. She loved those things. But I was just like, wow. She's like, I remember when you didn't give me a birthday, Grandma. And my mother-in-law's texting me, is that true? Did we really not? And I was like, you did it, but it's okay because of, and we didn't tell her to say that. But like, it's okay.
Well, you know what? That makes me think of another memory that we didn't put in our notes.
What?
Like the stuff I brought into the pool to play with that didn't belong there.
Yeah.
Right? Like my Barbies were all up in our pool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I had plastic Care Bears, like the little plastic guys. They would end up in the pool all the time. My Little Ponies too. And they weren't made because then you'd have the toys like that weren't made to go in water and they'd get full of water and then they would mold.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Remember that?
You just have to toss them.
And you just have to throw them away because you could see the mold, like, the toy.
Yeah. Because it wasn't meant for that. I mean, it's the same with the bath. I remember all my kids taking stuff in the bath that like did not belong in the bath. And eventually you got to throw it out because there's no way to get the water out of all the little plastic crevices, Yeah. Yikes. Okay. What else we got on this list?
What else we got? I don't know. I lost my...
Oh, I see. Laying out in your yard. Yeah. So what do you got? What do you got on that? Okay. And all the things.
Yeah. So laying out, for those of you who are not of our generation and actually protect your skin in your younger years, we do now.
Yeah.
We would laying out was like a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, it was an event. Maybe it still is for some people, but it shouldn't be. Anyways, I mean, so the list of things you had to have when you went to like lay out in your backyard, right? Was sun in for that nice orange hue for brunettes that you would always hope would turn blonde, right?
I have a lot of pictures of the sun in hair. Yes, I do. Wow.
Hawaiian Tropic tanning oil in the spray bottle because there was nothing better than that Hawaiian Tropic.
I can still smell it and feel it.
Yeah, me too. You had to have your little boombox. Yeah, either for a cassette tape or a radio. We used to put it on our favorite radio station. And then, of course, a towel. You probably don't even have a chair.
Like you probably literally
towel on the ground.
Laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I put in the notes here, like I grew up near Lake Michigan. So even though it's not like the ocean or whatever, but in the summer we would go down to the beach. There's public access and we would go to lay out. And I remember just not even getting in the water. No, just had our towels and our literally batteries in our boombox or whatever, spraying ourselves, maybe covering my face eventually because it felt like it was on fire. But like other than that, just and being just like a tan banana. And tan banana. Also worked at the beach as a high schooler and college student. No, I was not a lifeguard. That would have been super cool. No. Literally is kind of lame. Our beach, it's kind of similar to what some of them in Florida do now. But even back then, residents could get a sticker and get in for free. But if you were from out of town, you had to pay to park.
Oh, okay.
Because we would get a lot of people from like Chicago area and stuff. And anyway, it helped pay for our beaches and all that good stuff. So they had back then, because there weren't kiosks and all these prepay things, people, literal humans that would stand there and charge people to park.
That's what you did?
That's what I did. I was not a lifeguard. I should just start saying yes. Were you a lifeguard? Yeah. No, literally, I stood there with a little color of parking in my seat, a parking attendant, but I didn't even help you park. Literally took your money and went, go ahead. And so like little teenage me stopping these like gigantic Escalades full of people. Hi, I need your $2, please. And then like we would have aprons, these little like aprons just full of cash because we couldn't even take cards. It was cash only.
Right. Of course. Because that wasn't a thing then.
We did have supervisors that would like come by and like so like when one book was gone, you knew how much like you owed for that. But this was the job I've talked about before where I would go at like 6 a.m. and I just have like $100 of cash and be by myself in this little hut, like charging people as they came in. Like, hello.
I know.
But I would get really tan from that job too. Yeah. Because we were literally just standing in the sun. And if it was like fireworks or some big park event, they would spread us out across, you know, to help with things. And I just remember getting off work and just my skin would just be like radiating.
Yeah.
Heat. Like I couldn't even get cool in front of a fan or anything because I'd been seriously in the sun.
Yeah.
For 10 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Now that I think about like how we just never protected our skin. And I'm like, oh, no wonder we're all premature aging because
you're right.
Like it does catch up to, and I mean, I've had moles removed. I've had stuff taken off. Like, but oh my God, that was like a whole thing laying out. I'm sure I have pictures somewhere of me laying out in the backyard.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Oh, I know I do.
I gotta go back through my pictures and see what I can find. I went through and found some, but now I'm like, oh wait, there's gotta be more. So let's talk about, now we are going to go into a summer fashion of,
oh, yes.
And I did do some research on this one because it's very interesting because I was just curious how these even like got invented. So we're going to talk about some high-end footwear called jellies.
Yes, jellies.
Which have made several comebacks.
Oh, yeah.
Over the years.
Oh, yeah.
And do you know any of the history about jellies?
I know nothing.
Oh, I'm so excited to tell you.
I remember loving them as a kid. And I think my mom would get them for me, like even as a small kid.
Oh, yeah.
Like preschool, kindergarten,
they're like
wearing them.
Absolute worst shoe to wear in the summer.
Terrible.
Your feet sweat and you just slide all around. But they're cute.
They're really cute and they weren't easy to clean.
Yeah, because they're just plastic.
But they also would get hot. I remember trying to put them on.
Wet.
I remember even like you would take them off for example, at the beach. And then you go to put them on and it would like burn your feet because it's literally been plastic baking. And so we would like cover up our shoes with towels, you know, because you couldn't wear them otherwise.
I love jellies. I remember wearing these all the time as a kid. And then they made a comeback when we were in high school. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
In like the 90s. Anyways, so here, I'm going to tell you. So for those of you that don't know, jellies are a type of shoe made of PVC plastic, okay? They came in a large variety of brands and colors, and the material is often infused with glitter.
Yes.
Okay. So its name comes from the French company called Jelly Shoes. Very creative.
Okay.
Wow. Founded by two men named Tony Alano and Nicolas Gouillon. I think Gouillon. How do you think you say that?
It might be Guillon.
Okay, that's probably it.
Maybe.
In 1980 in Paris. So let me tell you a little bit about how they got the idea for these shoes. So there was a French company named Sarrazin. We're just going to go with that. Sarrazin. And they actually created kind of the first shoe made of PVC in the 50s. And those shoes were used by fishermen, okay, for their low price and the ease of cleaning.
Okay.
So they were just transparent. They didn't have colors, all that stuff. And they were sold in like these big, large baskets at like wharfs and stuff, like for fishermen to use. Well, in 1980, Tony Alano, who was Brazilian, and Nicolas, how did you say it?
Guillon.
Okay, he's a Frenchman, so that's probably correct. They were living in Paris and they went on holiday to Spain, okay? And they had an idea to transform those fishermen's shoes into fun, colorful, urban, and fashionable shoes, okay? So they got a loan from Nicholas's mom.
Yes.
They bought 200 of those Sarrazin's fisherman's shoes. So they got Tony's brother, who was a chemist, to help him out, and they created like this special dye to dye the plastic. And Tony and Nicholas dyed the shoes in their kitchen. They dried them in their bathroom and then packaged them in their living room.
Wow.
A little factory set up. And because they were handmade, the shoes had like this diverse color palette, because of how like the dye took in different ways and it had a lot of colors that weren't yet seen in modern footwear. Okay. 1980, the beginning of like the bright colors and all.
Right.
So they sold the shoes at a Parisian boutique for prices between 60 and 140 francs, which I don't know what that is in US dollars, but it was around 5 to 10 times more than they paid for them.
Wow.
So basically they like had a glow up for these fishermen's shoes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that story does not end there.
Okay. Oh, no.
So the jelly shoes, in 1981, and the Sarrazine was their supplier. So the fisherman's shoe people, so that was their supplier. They had a dispute.
Oh,
okay. Because Sarrazine broke their exclusivity contract.
Uh-oh.
And they were selling the jelly shoe model to other clients so they could have competitors of the same kind of shoe. So Jelly Shoes then made a deal with a Brazilian manufacturer named Grindine, I think, in 1982. And a year later is when they exploded in popularly.
Ah, that sounds about right then.
Yeah,
and I was saying like preschool.
Exactly.
I would have been, yeah.
So their Jelly Shoes, early summer models were bright. They were colorful. Again, most of the time had glitter. They had 12 different colors, their first round of shoes. And they were infused with a vanilla or lemon perfume.
Oh,
which, do you remember the smell?
Yes.
That explains the smell.
I just thought, you know how we've talked about how Cabbage Patch dolls have a smell.
Like they
inherent.
Yeah, because of the plastic or whatever.
But this is an actual perfume.
Yeah, I love that. So that is just how Jelly Shoes came to be.
That's so cool.
Right?
I really wouldn't mind getting another pair of Jelly Shoes.
Just to have. I want some.
Yeah.
Are they back in? I don't know.
I would imagine you can get them.
We're not really up on trends.
No,
we don't know.
Tell us, someone, to send us a text message, not a snap, because we don't have Snapchat.
We do not.
But
we just like what we like. That's one of the best things about middle age. Is that you just say, I like what I like, and I really don't care if it's cool.
I totally agree with
that.
I
like what I like, and I just don't care.
Yeah. Totally. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to that place or do something a certain way. I don't care.
Don't care.
Yeah.
We want Jelly Shoes.
We want Jelly Shoes. Send Jelly
with
shoes.
Glitter.
With glitter. They must have glitter. That's awesome. Well, I never knew all that, but I like it. I mean, it's innovative. And I like how they obviously eventually had to do it at scale, but like how it started as like in their kitchen, in their bathroom.
Yeah.
You know, selling it however.
And I love the whole like idea of taking a product, even though it's not yours, but taking a product and thinking of a new way to have it, right? Like they saw these shoes that were used for just a basic functioning for somebody's job, you know, fishing. And they were like, but we could make that something totally different. Right?
Yeah, that. I really like that too.
Okay. That was fun. Moving on. Tell us about what we have thought about next.
Oh, yes. Make your own popsicle.
Yes.
And I mean, obviously you can still do this. And people do still do this. It's like the whole thing. Social media trend too. Like people making different things. Oh yeah. Like I saw one that was just like, okay. So first of all, it's so elaborate. My daughter, Erin, I think showed it to me. And it's like, they pureed this watermelon. So this was not what we were doing in the 80s.
No.
And this little aside. And it was like this whole presentation and the watermelon. And then they had like something green. Maybe it was kiwi. I don't know. And then it was like layered and then it was frozen. And girl, they gave it to a dog at the
God, what?
Oh my video about making this dog-friendly popsicle. And I was like, that's too many steps for a human, right? Like, what is happening? I love dogs.
I know.
But I was like, I mean, and it was very cute. It was like a Siberian husky just like chomping down on this homemade popsicle.
Like, give a cube. He don't know.
No, my dogs love ice cubes.
Right?
Thank God.
Yeah.
But back then,
but in the 80s,
yeah,
we did.
And so I remember, so first of all, Tupperware.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
My mom had tons of it. So probably went to lots of parties. I think I still have some at my house. I know my parents still have some at their house. And there was a Tupperware version that was like the pre-made. And you can buy similar ones now at like Target.
Yeah, it's like a plastic mold.
A mold, yeah. And you could put whatever in there. And I remember doing it with like lemonade and whatever, but I remember doing it with yogurt.
Oh,
we would take like you know, the bigger tub of yogurt, like strawberry yogurt, and you would pour it in there and just freeze it. You must eat like frozen yogurt. I remember doing that. We did stuff like
Kool-Aid or
Coke.
That was like super fancy.
I've never tried that.
I remember something happened with the carbonation. It was not the best idea.
Okay.
But we also would make our own, like before we had one of those molds or we lost it or I don't know, it broke or I don't know. We would use an ice cube tray.
Yeah.
And I actually saw this idea in the back of a highlights magazine when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That magazine?
I loved highlights.
Okay. And so you could make your own like individual teeny tiny popsicles. And what you would do was you had the ice tray. You'd put you'd fill the thing with liquid. You'd put plastic wrap, like cling wrap on top.
Okay.
And then you'd stick toothpick.
Yep.
In there, and then you freeze it, and then you could take the toothpick out. But it was really hard to have the toothpicks not wobble around.
Yeah.
Because you had to do the plastic wrap very tight. And as you know, plastic wrap doesn't always cling like it's supposed to. And so as like, you're like 8 years old.
Right.
Like you're trying to get so my toothpicks would always be like all wonky shapes and like I'd be holding it like all crooked. Like,
yeah. And that's the other thing, like, because ice is heavy.
Oh yeah.
So you'd be trying to pull them out
And they would break off.
they'd break off. Or, you do like the thing where you like break the ice tray, but then like you said, they'd be all like wonky directions. And then you'd be like eating like a sideways and then the toothpick would just come out. And then, then it's like, it's hard because you have like a whole ice cube in your mouth now. I don't know.
It was weird.
It was weird. They probably tasted great and were super refreshing.
It was the best idea though.
The
were way better.
Well, you were just talking about like Kool-Aid. So that brings us to our next.
I know. And I did research.
All right. I see it. I'm excited about this.
Memory I had of summer in the 80s always involved some kind of Kool-Aid in a pitcher or Tang.
Yep.
So there was endless packets of Kool-Aid in my house as well as containers of Tang. So I was like, well, let me see where this even started. I don't know the origin. So I'm going to tell you the origins of both. Are you ready?
Yay! I'm so excited. Yes.
So Edwin Perkins, who is a chemist from Hindley, Nebraska. Have you noticed that a lot of people in the Midwest have created a lot of things?
Yeah, we've talked about like a lot of people from Michigan,
I know,
Nebraska, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
all over.
All right, Midwesters. All right. He invented Kool-Aid in 1927.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, while experimenting in his mother's kitchen. Okay. So the powdered drink mix was originally called Fruit Smack. And it was a liquid concentrate at first that came in 6 flavors. But Mr. Perkins discovered a way to remove the liquid from Fruit Smack to reduce shipping costs. And that created a powder, and he named it Kool-Aid.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So around 1927-ish is when it was called Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
Well,
so there you go. That's the beginning of Kool-Aid. Now, Tang has a pretty interesting story with some urban legends mixed in, all right?
Ooh.
So this is where it gets a little fun. So 1957 is the year. There was a food scientist named William Mitchell. He worked for General Foods Corporation. He came up with what he called Tang flavor crystals. Okay. So Mitchell was the company's top food scientist, who was also the creator of other mid-century food innovations, such as Pop Rocks, Quick Set Jello, and Cool Whip.
Wow.
So he's got a lot of things under his belt.
You know, Mitchell.
I know, right? So he researched for 2 years. So it was 2 years of research and development. Tang was put on grocery shelves in the U.S. and Venezuela and West Germany, actually, at the same time.
Okay.
I know. In the fall of 1959. Okay. So yep, you're going to
I know what's coming.
Yeah. So it was actually marketed as a breakfast drink packed with vitamin C that, quote, you don't squeeze, unfreeze, or refrigerate.
Sounds nice,
right? Sounds delicious.
Convenient.
So around 1960, so this had been out for about a year, someone at NASA realized that the consumer-grade drink powder was exactly what the astronauts needed in space to add to their life support system water, which tasted super nasty because of the non-toxic chemical reaction that they would have to use in the water up there. So somebody was like, oh, well, they need Tang. That'd be great. And it's super easy to ship or whatever. So government made a deal with General Foods to buy the powder in bulk. So here is the urban legend that NASA invented Tang.
I have heard that before.
Me too. They did not invent it, but the reason people thought that is because we're about to talk about. So once that happened, once that deal was made, General Foods began marketing the powder as a space-age drink. So this is when all the rumors started. Yeah. So Tang actually accompanied astronauts for the next decade. And General Foods, of course, gushed proudly in print and TV ads that it was chosen by the Gemini astronauts because it was packed with vitamins, easy to make, and tasted great.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 1968, Tang even sponsored ABC's coverage of Apollo 8. So their name was all over all the space stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And, which was America's first manned flight around the moon.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a terrible marketing idea, right? If, they're
what a deal.
Space, especially back then, because
right?
There was so much, like nowadays, so much stuff goes up, and stuff meaning cargo on things, but also there's so many launches, right? Because we've got the commercialization now of space. But back then, this was a very narrow amount of things that were going, and very few people going up, and vehicles going up. So like if you could be kind of the face of something. Now, let me ask you, do you like Tang?
I haven't drank Tang since I was a kid, but I loved it. We drank it all the time.
I didn't like it.
You didn't?
Mm-mm.
I mean, I can still kind of remember the essence of the taste. Like, as we're talking, my brain is like, hey, remember this flavor?
Uh-huh.
And they still make it.
And is it healthy? I'm confused. I thought it was just kind of like,
I think it's like Sunny D.
Like Sunny D. Yeah. Or even not necessarily like the level of a Kool-Aid, but that sort of thing.
So we need to do a taste test beverage nostalgia. We can do
good idea.
Sprite.
Yeah.
We can do Tang.
Mm-hmm.
Do they still make Tab? I don't know. Probably.
They might. And then
Yoo-hoo, do they still make that?
Yeah. You can get Yoo-hoo. Yeah, it's just literally on shelves. It's like, that's not milk. It's literally on a shelf. I saw it like not too long ago, and I was like, huh. And I've had one recently just because my own nostalgic self, but clearly Canadian.
Oh, girl, I bought one. I bought two at the store. And they're amazingly delicious.
So good, so refreshing.
I missed out because what made me think to get one was I was at Costco and they had them like in bulk.
Oh my God.
Like, okay, well, I don't remember if I like those enough to buy them in bulk, right? So I didn't buy them. But then I was at Walmart one day and they had individual ones on the shelf, right? So I was like, well, let me buy a couple. And so then I was mad. So I was like, well, crud, next time I go to Costco, I'm going to get them. And then
they're gone. Maybe they'll come back.
It was so sad.
I
missed my opportunity.
Yeah.
And Cooper was like, and I only bought two. Two, right? And so those were for me and myself. And that's it. And Cooper was like, ooh, I want one of those. I was like, no. These are for me. Next time I buy some, you can have some, but this is my treat.
Not this time. This is my little trip back in the memory machine. Yeah. I put one on here too that kind of reminded me of when you were talking about these drinks, and then I see your comment.
Yeah.
My mom would make the iced tea outside.
Yes. It was called sun tea.
Yeah.
My mom made this same thing. It was like at a special pitcher. And you just sit it in the baking sun.
Yeah. And it's on glass.
Oh, it was glass. You're right.
It was glass, but it could have been a glass pitcher, which was good now that I think about it, because baking in plastic would probably not have been good. And yeah, you would put the literal tea bags in there and the whatever, and it would make the tea for you, bake it in the sun, and then you just get a nice big glass of ice.
Yeah.
And then you'd either drink it just straight up, or you could add lemon, or you could put sugar in it, or whatever. And I remember like every summer afternoon doing that.
My mom would do it on weekends because she was a nurse, so she works during the day, but I remember, and it had to sit out for like a long time, right?
Yeah, it was seriously like every sunny hour of the day.
Yeah, I'd be like, Mom, can you go? Is it time to get that tea in? And she'd be like, not yet.
It's like, it could be real good when it's like sitting on the front porch, but not yet.
But okay, so let me ask you this about tea. Since you're from not the South, did y'all drink sweet tea or no?
Mm-mm.
Interestingly enough, even though I grew up in the South, we did not drink sweet tea.
Yeah.
My mom was not from, like, she grew up in the military, so she moved around a lot. And so she never grew up drinking sweet tea. So in our house, we would have like, I remember we would have like this liquid non-sugar, it was like sugar substitute sweetener.
Yeah.
So 80s. That we would add to stuff, and I would put that in my tea sometimes. But generally, I drank unsweet tea.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because Southern people go cray-cray for their sweet tea.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah, I didn't even really know what sweet tea that there was like. I mean, obviously I knew you could sweeten tea.
Right.
But like, I didn't know there was like pre-made or whatever until after I graduated college and I moved to Florida, and I worked at an Outback Steakhouse in Kissimmee. And we had the two big pitchers back where we would get people drinks. And if they ordered iced tea, you had to ask them which one. And there was an unsweet and a sweet, and it was a whole thing. But I don't know why we had unsweet, because literally everyone would get sweet tea.
I remember growing up, restaurants didn't have, like in the South, there was just, if you ordered tea, it was sweet. It was
sweet tea.
Could not get sweet tea.
Interesting.
Because my mom would always ask, because every now and then there would be a rare restaurant that would, because she'd be like, is your tea sweet or unsweet? And they'd be like, we have one tea. But if they said, no, we do have on sweet,
Yeah.
she would get excited because she didn't drink. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's just nice to make it yourself. But yeah.
Yeah.
Because sweet tea is sweet.
So sweet.
Like pre-made. I know McDonald's does it.
I cannot
Down
drink
here, but not in the Midwest, I don't think. I don't think you can get, and maybe now,
Yeah.
because it's more of a phenomenon, but like, I would have never thought to get sweet tea from McDonald's in Indiana, you know? Like, I don't know.
Doesn't happen.
I mean, maybe I have Indiana friends who are listening and like, no, you could. Maybe you could, but I don't think so. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, tell me some more. We've got a few more.
So
We're done.
I don't know if you guys did this, and I was just talking about this the other day because dang, in this heat and our dryers in our garage, nothing will dry
Oh, yeah.
because it's so humid. So it takes a million years.
Oh,
so
your dryers in your garage. I bet that does take.
oh, it's awful. And then you walk into the garage and like, it's like if you're out there for like a couple minutes, you will probably pass out. It's so hot in there. So we like keep the door open or we open the garage door.
Oh, Lord.
But we used to have a clothesline.
Oh, yeah.
And we would literally, I remember taking out like sheets and towels and like underwear. Like it didn't matter. It was in our backyard.
Yeah.
Still, like we shared like a chain link fence with our neighbor. Like they could see all our stuff hanging up. And I remember we would hang it out there and it would smell amazing. Like your sheets, your clothes, whatever would smell amazing. But I just remember the towels being like hard, you know, because there's like no fabric softener. And my mom would just fold them up all, you know, and like stick them in the cupboard. And, but if the storm blew in,
Oh, yeah.
whole families run outside, you getting all that stuff down. And I mean, we had a dryer, obviously, because you could only use the clothesline where I was from a couple months a year.
Yeah.
But I remember using it, and there have been a few times that I'm like, man, I wish I did have a clothesline to at least give these towels like a start.
But here's the thing, though, Katie. When you use a clothesline in the South, it does not smell good.
I could see that.
It smells like
I could see that.
mildew. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like you went pool. You ever leave towels outside to dry?
God, yeah.
See, that's what it smells like.
You're right.
So we had like a portable clothesline, you know, so we would sometimes put stuff in our backyard, like on that, like stuff that can't go in the dryer. Like my mom would like, put it in the sun or whatever, but it would always stink.
Yeah. Honestly, ours probably did too.
But you just said it smelled amazing.
I feel like you're like, let me think about it. The sheets
Okay.
would always smell really good.
Yeah.
I remember that specifically, but I feel like anything that wasn't like, that was like, because sheets were, I guess they were probably cotton blend a little, but anything that was like mostly cotton or polyester, I feel like was not. And denim, oh my God. It would be like so hard.
Do you know my stepdad used to take his jeans to the cleaners? Way back in the day. Yeah. I
That's so funny.
pick up his stuff for him when I worked for him as a teen and a young adult. And he would bring his jeans there because he liked them to like be crispy.
Okay.
And he would get extra starch
on your jeans.
That's what I just thought about when you were talking about those. Like,
So funny.
yeah, I don't hear that anymore.
So clotheslines, but
Clotheslines.
another one I have on here is I put camping,
Oh, my
but literally intense.
Yeah.
Like all that's separating you from the outside world is a zipper.
yeah.
And like there's an outhouse, or if you even have that, and you're like sleeping on the ground somewhere.
Do you like camping?
No,
I literally hate it.
I don't like camping at all. Like, and neither was my husband, thank God.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, he hates it.
Troy always tries to like, okay, we've been together for a long time, and he's always like, well, what if we did this? And I'm like, is it outside sleeping? I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And I will go outside and do outdoor things, but at the end of the day, I would like to, like, we have evolved from sleeping outside, so I would like to have my AC and
Sure. Like swimming, hike,
yeah,
whatever, bike rides, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I will need AC, a door that locks. I will not be able to sleep if literally someone can unzip my tent.
or bear.
And a bear can rip it open or pull me or my kids from my sleep.
And Blair
No,
Witch
thank you.
did it for me as well.
Blair Witch, she's
When-
coming.
When I was in college, like I had friends, they would go, like, they'd be like, oh, we're going on camp. So I was like, I ain't going. Like, y'all have fun. I'll be the only person left here.
Yeah.
I am not going. Like, I do not like camping. But I remember one time when I was a kid in the 80s, my dad loved camping. Okay. My dad was a huge outdoor
Mine
person.
too. Yeah.
He was a big hiker. And, you know, he grew up in North Carolina on a farm. So, like, he loved out. And my mom is like me, hated it. And my poor dad had my mom and then 2 daughters who also hated it. So, bless his heart.
Bless him.
He would try and try. And then I guess he gave up. But then, so one time he took me, and a friend with him, he would go on these camping trips. He had like a group of friends. They would go on these annual trips, hiking stuff. He took me and a friend with him, and his friend brought his son or whatever. And my friend threw up in our tent.
Oh, God. The worst.
And I was whining and complaining. It was horrible. Like we were absolutely, and it rained.
It's miserable.
And we were just absolutely awful. So I never went again with him after that.
Yeah, you're like, I hated that
so much. I remember crying. Oh, boy.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah, camping. Whoa. And camping in Louisiana, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, we lived by the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore, like literally right by it. And so for my dad's birthday in August, we would go camping. And that was his big, like, birthday thing. Like, that's what he wanted. And eventually it turned into just him and my brothers going because me and my mom were like, no. And we would go and like hang out. We would even stay for the campfire, but then we'd be like, bye. And then after I had a baby and I went, my daughter and I surprised him for that birthday because he wasn't expecting us. It was done over that. I was like, I have a literal infant. I am not sleeping outside. Goodbye. I need a crib. Yeah. I need air conditioning. I need a changing table. Like all these things. But, and then him and my brothers went a few times after that, but I don't even think they've gone for like a few years, you know, because it's hard for him to leave my mom now too. So, but, yeah, we would do that for his birthday because we loved him, but we probably made it miserable for him at the same time. Right. So sorry, Dad. Sorry. We did love you, I think. I also put on here, and I know these still exist because my kids always loved them, these library reading clubs in the summer. That was like universal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every library and every town.
They now have adult ones. You can do them I think Brevard has one.
That's really
Yeah, you have adult ones.
So you would, at least where I was from, it wasn't necessarily a list you had to read. No. It's just like a certain number of books.
Well, and sometimes they had like genres. Yeah, like a mystery or read a whatever, read a nonfiction. Yeah, and you would check off like, and then you'd get little things for it.
Yeah, little prizes. And I know our library had, where I was growing up and also here in Florida, when my older kids were younger, they would have a little party at the end of the summer. And if you qualify by reading like the certain number of books, you could go and there'd be like games or fun or pizza or whatever. And it was just like a way to encourage kids to keep reading in the summer and get incentives for it. But I would always get really excited about it. I know I loved going to
I did too. Libraries are fun. And, you know, my kids used to be very big readers. They're kind of fallen off the wayside a little bit the older they've gotten. And I hope they eventually come back. Because, like, they especially my high schooler, like, once you're in AP classes and stuff, you're just reading for work. And it's not the same. So I hope they come back. But they were big readers because I'm a big reader. So they would come with me to the library before they could read because I was going.
Exactly.
And we moved around a lot, right? When my kids were little. So every town had a library and there's free stuff to do.
Yep.
So we would go every time we moved. As soon as we got somewhere, go to the library, get library cards. And
absolutely.
We utilized every single library everywhere we were and did all the reading clubs.
Yeah.
I think the best, I'm sitting here trying to remember the best reading club. Oh, do you need to go out there?
I don't think so.
Okay. Sorry. Katie's studio door.
I told them we were recording.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyways, I'm trying to remember the best reading club. I get my states mixed up. I loved our library when we lived in Missouri. We lived on base once. We lived there twice. We lived on base once and not the second time. But the one in town, not on base, always had the coolest little kids area. Fun. And it's a small town. Like, it's a very small town, but they really invested in their library.
Yeah.
Which I love because that is a very important place for communities.
It really is.
It really is. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So libraries in general.
So yay, library.
Yay. Okay. So the final one on here is the memory of no air conditioning.
My heart just sank. What?
Yes. So again, Indiana, so it wasn't as hot as often, but it got like the 90s, you know, a lot. And the home I grew up in, it was 2-story. We did have these huge oak trees all around the home, so that part was good. But we had no central air.
Girl, get out.
None.
Shush.
And we had like, after a while, we had like a single box air conditioner like in our kitchen. And then I remember my parents got one for their room. And then eventually I lived upstairs and I had one in my room. And that would kind of like handle the whole upstairs. But we had box fans we would turn on at night. We would open our windows to let in air. And I just remember, it was 3,000 square foot house, like an old Midwest house. Mm-hmm. And on the hottest days, I have literal memories of laying in the middle of our living room under a ceiling fan, just being hot. I mean, like, we're just going to lay here under the fan. Like, literally, that's what we would do. And not being able to sleep at night and that's Indiana. Like, believe it or not, places in the South and all that used to also have that. I don't know how.
My grandparents, my dad's mom and dad, that lived in North Carolina. They both passed away, but they did not have air conditioning in their house in North Carolina until after my grandpa passed away in the 80s. Like, my mom refused to go there, or actually maybe it was before he passed away. My mom got to the point where she refused to stay there with us and as small children because it was so hot. It was so hot, and they would not, they were very frugal with money, and which a lot of people of their generation were. They lived through some hard stuff. My grandma did finally get central air.
Yeah. Same with my grandfather. Their home was near ours growing up, and they didn't have central air. And I remember even being in high school or whatever, and he didn't. Yeah. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I know one of Troy's siblings lives in Portland, and I think they live in a different place now, but her original house she lived in, they didn't have air. Yeah. We went on, oh girl, this is a totally different topic for a different podcast. But I don't know if I've ever told you this. So Tegan was a baby, so we're talking maybe 7 years ago. She was toddler age. We took a 33-day road trip with all 5 kids in our minivan.
That sounds awful.
We didn't have any pets yet, but
I was gonna say,
no dogs were with, no pets. But literally kind of started in Florida. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on this or a bonus episode, but we started in Florida, went all the way up the East Coast, and we're strategically picking places that we knew family or had friends, although there were a few stops that we didn't. Went all the way up the East Coast, over to Ohio, Indiana, up to Missouri, over out to Colorado, to Seattle, down through California, through Texas, back. We just made a big square of the U.S.
Crazy
thing along the way. But wow, where's I going with this? Oh, my cousin. I'm like, wow, that was a long trip. Remembering. My cousins live in Colorado.
Okay.
And there's environmentally a lot of laws around free stuff too. So they get a certain allotment anyway, all of this. So their AC wasn't hooked up, and we just happened to be there during this record heat wave week. And it was 95 outside, and they had no air conditioning. And this was 7 years ago or whatever. And they were like, we're so sorry. I was like, it's okay. It was ever leaving. Yeah. It was a lot. But I mean, yeah. So anyway, well, that is a lot of memories.
And I mean, we stuck in the 80s, but then we ended up talking about your road trip. So good up. And we had no intro today, so
no intro. But I hope some of these memories resonated with you. And then if you have any, to add, I mean, obviously, of course, we've talked about this before. On one hand, there was a lot of mainstream cultural things that we all share, but also it was a lot more fragmented.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't necessarily know about other people's traditions if they didn't live by you, because there wasn't social media and there wasn't whatever. Whereas now, I feel like I get a peek into the way other people live a lot more than when I was growing up. So there may be something really cool that you did as a kid that we don't know about. So whether we're talking about this or something else, we're always open to hearing more about that.
And as we were talking, now I'm like, oh, I just thought of 600 more.
But maybe we'll do a part 2. Yeah, we'll do a part 2. I love that. Awesome. Well, as always, thanks for listening to Generation in Between, a Xennial podcast. You can join us over on Patreon, where we've got our bonus episodes and our fun after shows and some other fun things coming up, especially in the fall when it's not so hot out. And we'd love to see you there. And also leave us a review wherever you listen. Share us on your social. Tell people how much you like our podcast. That helps a lot. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Stay away from DIY slip and slides.
No DIY. Actually, just stay away from slip and slide. Period. Oh, we're too old for that.
I know. Yeah, 43, don't get on slip and slide.
If you're 43, no. 42, go ahead. But, oh wait, that's me. or younger. Okay. Hey, buddy.